Canada dropped a massive $6.4 billion to build a new bridge. But here's the wild part. They handed Michigan joint ownership for free, then turned around and used American steel and American workers to get the job done. When Donald Trump caught wind of that deal, he reportedly snapped, saying he wouldn't allow the bridge to open. But the very next morning, Mark Carney wasn't having it. He picked up the phone, called Trump directly, and dropped 4 cold, clean sentences that left Washington speechless. He said, "Canada paid. Michigan already owns half. American steel and American workers built it, and I look forward to its opening." Boom. No press chaos, no diplomatic meltdown, just facts dropped like a hammer. Trump had been spinning stories about the bridge that were wrong in nearly every single detail, and Carney's calm but sharp response flipped the whole situation on its head. The real story behind how Trump got tangled up in this mess says a lot about who's really pulling the strings in this trade war, and who's cashing in on it. Today we're breaking down why Trump went after this bridge, what he misunderstood, who truly wins if the border blocks up, and how Carney's 4-line mic drop became the sharpest counterstrike. Before we dive into this wild story, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe if you want more deep dives into the real stories that shake up politics. The real drama came from 3 major Canadian moves that had Washington fuming for months. First, Ontario's government rolled out TV ads roasting American tariffs. Then, they took it a step further, banning American booze from provincial store shelves in direct retaliation for Trump's tariff war. That hit hard. And to top it all off, Prime Minister Mark Carney had just landed back from Beijing with a massive trade deal that opened up $7 billion worth of new markets with China. Washington was livid. They even labeled the move hostile toward U.S. interests. Trump's Truth Social rant laid it all out. Ontario's alcohol bans and Carney's China deal were the real triggers. This was all about leverage. Trump saw that shiny new bridge and thought, here's something I can use as pressure. But there was one major issue. He had already supported it. Every detail was already out in the open, yet Trump turned it into a standoff, treating it like a hidden deal instead of a fully transparent project. Michigan hit the jackpot on this one, $500 million bridge for free. Under the deal, Canada covered every dollar of construction costs. And it doesn't stop there. The state also becomes eligible to collect 50% of all net toll revenue moving forward. Billions in future income for $0. This was some backroom handshake. The agreement was signed by Republican Governor Rick Snyder and even got the official green light from the U.S. Department of State. Then, in 2017, Donald Trump himself endorsed the project, calling the bridge a vital economic link. His own administration later signed off on $15 million in funding. So by the time Trump threatened to block it, he was literally trying to stop a project he had already backed, funded, and praised. It was a total contradiction. The facts were crystal clear. American steel and American workers were used on the Michigan side, proudly representing U.S. labor and industry. Canada doesn't own the American side. Under the 2012 deal, Michigan already owns half of the entire bridge. Compensation was already built in. Even Windsor Mayor Drew Dilkens said he could not believe what he was reading, stunned that Trump was misrepresenting a deal that had been on the books for a decade. Rick Snyder wasn't about to let misinformation slide. The former Republican governor dropped a column in the Detroit News where he corrected Trump's claims one by one. Imagine that, a GOP governor publicly fact-checking the sitting U.S. president over a deal he himself created. But here's where things really get interesting. The Maroon family introduction, gritty cinematic view of the Ambassador Bridge, text overlay, the monopoly, mysterious tone. Back in 1979, Manuel "Matty" Maroon bought the Ambassador Bridge. From that point on, it was one man, one bridge, and an almost total monopoly. Every single 18-wheeler hauling auto parts or farm goods had to cross using Maroon's bridge, paying tolls straight into his family's pockets. More than $60 million every year for over 4 decades. Maroon knew the moment the Gordie Howe Bridge opened, his private toll empire would start crumbling. For the next 20 years, Matty Maroon waged a non-stop war to stop that new bridge. He poured more than $30 million into a failed ballot initiative. He launched multiple federal lawsuits claiming exclusive rights. Every single one of those cases got shut down all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. Rick Snyder dropped a truth bomb. The Maroon family has been major Republican donors for years, lobbying hard to kill the project. Trump's sudden threat would have handed the Maroons exactly what 2 decades of lawsuits couldn't: full protection of their private toll empire. Michigan House Speaker Matt Hall, a Republican, even hinted that maybe Canada could retaliate against those same owners. The Maroon family. For the first time, the Maroon family was being mentioned in an official press briefing as part of the justification for blocking a public project. Even Senator Alyssa Slotkin, a Democrat, laid it out plain. Canceling this project will have serious repercussions for Michigan businesses and consumers. Her words hit hard, because this wasn't about politics anymore. It was about protecting Michigan's future. It was a self-defeating move. Governor Gretchen Whitmer saw what was happening and refused to stay silent. Her office called the project a tremendous example of cooperation. She reminded everyone that Canada financed the construction, and union workers from both sides built it. The bridge stands as a symbol of shared success. The Gordie Howe International Bridge gives Michigan 50% ownership of one of the most vital land crossings in North America. This bridge solves a 100-year-old problem. The old Ambassador Bridge layout is a logistical nightmare, forcing heavy trucks to crawl through stoplights before even reaching the highway. Time is money. Michigan's leaders across party lines knew. The Gordie Howe Bridge wasn't just steel and concrete. It was the fix the auto industry had been waiting for. The Gordie Howe International Bridge is a total game changer. It connects directly from Ontario's Highway 401 to Interstate 75, freeway to freeway. No city streets, no red lights, no gridlock caused by a road system built a century ago that was never meant to handle 8,000 trucks a day. A University of Windsor study revealed the new bridge will cut up to 20 minutes off commercial crossing times. Over 30 years, that adds up to a jaw-dropping $2.3 billion in savings for truckers and the industries they serve. And guess who benefits the most? American companies. Those savings flow straight into the pockets of U.S. auto manufacturers and farm exporters. But the Gordie Howe Bridge isn't just about saving money. It's about eliminating a massive risk. Everything depends on the Ambassador Bridge. If that bridge ever closes, for maintenance, an accident, or a protest blockade, commercial trucking across the border comes to a dead stop. One structural issue or political standoff could freeze a quarter of all trade between Canada and the United States overnight. This is economic protection. The North American auto industry depends on a seamless border, with parts often crossing multiple times before a vehicle is even finished. If that system stopped, production lines would grind to a halt. The Gordie Howe Bridge builds the redundancy both economies have needed for decades. Blocking it doesn't protect American interests. It traps them in the exact weakness both governments have been trying to solve for 25 years. Trump's infamous Truth Social post went live on the night of February 9th. The very next morning, Mark Carney got on the phone with him. The conversation didn't drag on. Carney didn't argue or posture. He simply laid down 4 facts that no one in Washington could dispute. 1. Canada paid $4 billion to build the bridge. No U.S. taxpayer dollars were spent on construction. 2. Ownership is shared between the state of Michigan and the government of Canada under the 2012 agreement. 3. Both Canadian and American steel were used in construction, meeting the highest standards of both nations. And 4. Both Canadian and American workers built it, side by side, creating thousands of jobs in both Detroit and Windsor. After that call, Carney stepped out onto Parliament Hill. He looked completely calm, telling the press, "This bridge is a great example of cooperation between our two countries." He highlighted its importance for commerce and tourism. Then he gave a little grin and added a personal touch. He'd asked U.S. Ambassador Pete Hora to help smooth things over. And before walking away, Carney couldn't resist a playful jab. He joked that Canada's women's hockey team was going to beat the Americans that day. Tension vanished overnight. The White House issued a statement declaring it was unacceptable for Canada to own the bridge entirely, but here's the truth. Canada doesn't own it fully at all. That fact had already been spelled out by Carney, Michigan's governor, and Rick Snyder. Still, the White House was reacting to a storyline that had already been debunked. Carney understood that cool, precise diplomacy does more damage than shouting ever could. The difference between yelling about power and using it wisely couldn't have been clearer. In 2019, Trump's own administration signed $15 million in customs funding for this exact bridge into law. He called it vital. Then, 9 years later, he threatened to block it. The bridge didn't change. Michigan's stake stayed the same. The only things that changed? Carney's China deal, Ontario's alcohol ban, and Trump's need for a bargaining chip. Rick Snyder summed it up perfectly. Stopping the bridge would primarily hurt Americans. The pain would fall directly on Michigan workers and Michigan businesses. And the only people who'd win? The Maroon family. The billionaires who'd spent 20 years and $30 million trying to keep this bridge from opening. That's the piece no one in Washington seemed to be discussing, even though it was front-page news in Michigan and Ottawa. Every leader backed Carney up. Carney responded with 4 simple sentences that dismantled every false claim without a single insult. Meanwhile, Michigan's leaders all backed him up, unified and unapologetic. Canada built something monumental, paid every cent, and it's still opening anyway. 8,000 trucks will cross daily, shaving billions in costs and making the supply chain resilient. Trump tried to halt all of that with one post. Carney shut it down with 4 sentences. The bridge is opening. The facts stood tall. That's what elbows-up diplomacy really looks like. Subscribe to Canada Today 13 for more real stories that expose the politics, power, and players shaping North America's future.